unboxing the LG 24GS50F-B. If at any point during the video you want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links, but let's get this unboxed, guys. I am really excited for this one. However, without even using this, unboxing it, or testing it out, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna like this monitor because I used the 60QC-B, which is a 27-inch variant from LG. That was 1440p, this is 1080p, and 27 inches obviously versus 24, which is what this is. So that's basically the more expensive version of this, or at least that's how it comes across online. We'll see if that's the case. But the price delta between the two is not substantial. The stand here looks pretty much the same. Very nice stand, honestly. Metal on the bottom, and it honestly looks like they're more premium monitors. Very nice. Then we've got the power cable, which isn't super long. This is kind of where you like see the budgetness of it. It's got, well, kind of like the power brick attached here. Not a super long cable, can be kind of annoying to cable manage, especially when you're plugging this into like a power strip. That can be annoying. However, the 60QC-B was amazing. That was one of my most recommended panels for a budget space at all. That was an incredibly impressive panel. So I'm excited to see if this one's as good as that one, but 1080p and a little bit cheaper. Now, in the box, we get a DisplayPort cable. This is the only cable you get. Then we also get some paperwork, manual, but then we get screws here. So we are gonna need to open this up because I believe these are gonna be the screws for the back of the stand. With that, let's get right to the panel itself. And you can see the top part of the stand here. This looks like it's non-height adjustable, like the 60QC. And here is the stand. You can see they actually do quite a bit to make this look not budget with Ultragear on the side. It's kind of texturized. It is plastic, but it honestly does feel very well made. And you can see those are the two screw holes that are gonna be screwed to the back of the monitor here, but they actually give you, even though there's a budget monitor, they give you a very high quality thumb screw there. So you push that in, twist this out, and then you can just screw this in with your fingers. And honestly, for a budget stand, while you don't get a ton of adjustments, basically just tilt, it's a very attractive design, and I appreciate that. With that, let's get to the panel itself. It looks like there's some plastic over it, so you can actually pull it up. That's super interesting. Don't see that all the time. The panel is actually heavier than I was expecting, although I honestly do not remember how heavy the 60QC-B was. But let's take this out of the plastic. It's still not crazy heavy. And right away, we can see, I've done a lot of monitor reviews, so I can tell you without it even on, you can really start to see how aggressive a matte finish is or isn't gonna be. Now, the matte finish is the reason that the 60QC-B was such a good monitor. Matte finishes, depending on how matte they really are, how much they reflect the light in all the different directions, it decreases clarity by a huge amount. Just by looking at this, it looks like it's going to be the same. You can actually see the finish of this is much smoother and closer to gloss than your average panels. With that, let's get the stand put on this. I'm just gonna set this down even though it's a little bit dirty. Take the stand, line these two pieces up on top, and then you can see both of our screws go in there. Here are our screws. You will need a Phillips head screwdriver, it is not included, and screw them up. And there's two. Now, let's check this out. This actually uses like their design from their higher end monitors, which is this kind of actual glossy design, which is honestly really cool. But then we got the logo here. This is not in that purple. This is just, you know, the gray plastic, but while this may look like black all over the camera, this is actually like a gray, which does make it look a little bit higher end, just like their more premium monitors, which I really appreciate. Now for the ports, we've got two HDMIs, we've got a DisplayPort and a 3.5mm audio out. Then you have your DC in. And for adjustments, you only have tilt here. So that's all you have. It is a decent amount of tilt and it's a solid stand, but that's all you get. And then these corners are actually wrapped in plastic, and they are nice and glossy, but it's not black glossy. It's again, more of like that bluish gray. So fingerprints, it's a little bit less prone to, which is a really smart move. I like that. With that, we're gonna get this on the desk, do an initial impressions, gaming test, and a ghosting test. Let's do it. All right, with it on the desk, two things. One, they didn't include any cable management. It's very typical of LG. However, it is a cheap monitor, but I still wish they would have included some sort of clip or something. The other thing is the 27-inch 1440p variant, which is the 60QC-B rather than the 50F-B. That one was a 27-inch. You can also get this one in a 27-inch, although I don't really recommend it because this is a 1080p resolution, so PPI, you'll get more pixelation. However, that one wasn't high enough and it doesn't have any height adjustability, but this one is very much too low. If you're setting in a typical average height, I'm literally the perfect average. I'm literally 5'9", which is in the US, the absolute average for a US male. This is significantly too low. However, getting a monitor on for this, very inexpensive. You can get one for 25 to 35 bucks. I'll link one below that I recommend. But with that, let's get it turned on. I believe you use the joystick, which is a great method. LG has the best menu system in the game. All right, with this up right away, let's go into the menu system. Now, LG's menu system is typically prettier than this, but they do like downgrade that for these cheaper monitors. That might be because of like the overall processing that it actually needs inside of it, but it's still super easy. It's the same basic menu system. We're running 180 hertz. We have variable refresh rate on, HDR is not on. We have the response time setting. So let's go into game mode, which is actually the picture settings, I believe. It increases the brightness a little bit, going to gamer 2, FPS, RTS, vivid, reader, HDR effect, which is very vibrant. Actually looks pretty decent. Definitely oversaturated, but not bad when compared to most of the other companies like HDR effects. Then they also have a colorblind mode, which is pretty cool. We're gonna leave this in gamer 1. We're gonna go to adaptive sync. We have it in extended. We also have a ultra low motion blur setting, which is really cool, although variable refresh rate needs to be off for that. We have our response time settings, which we will go in and test at the end of the video. FPS counters, pretty standard stuff here. Let's go into picture adjust and let's turn the brightness all the way up. Here we go, all the way up. And it gets decently bright. It looks like it doesn't get quite as bright as the 60 QC-B, but that makes sense. This is also 1080p, and the PPI here is not gonna be quite as good as a 1440p 27-inch panel. And I think that's probably going to be my recommendation is right off the bat, this looks good, but it doesn't look as good as the 60 QC-B. And the 60 QC-B is pretty typically on sale, at least it has been since its release. Hasn't been out that long, so I'm not sure, but currently on Amazon, I think there's only like a $40 difference. And while at this price point, $40 is a lot. Initial impressions, and what I think I'm gonna end up recommending is just to spend the extra 40 bucks. But let's continue on going through that because that is just my initial thought. Let's go into gamma here. Now, the problem is with a VA panel, it's very important to get straight on to the panel. This is because as you go to the left and right, and up and down, it washes out. Not like a TN panel, how it just gets all crazy and looks awful, but VA panels wash out. This becomes more of a problem because the stand is not height adjustable. So the monitor arm with these monitors would be like very much my recommendation. For me to get straight on, I either need to tilt it, nope, I actually can't tilt it far enough up. But for me to get absolutely perfectly straight on, it should be like this, and that is very low for me. So I won't be able to get the absolute best experience possible unless I use this with a monitor arm. Unless you're very short, then it'll work. All right, we have our inputs here. We have auto input switching, and then that's pretty much it. We have our smart energy saving. Need to turn that off. Always turn that off. It messes with stuff. It doesn't save you any power. It's really just kind of dumb. But with that, let's go into NVIDIA control panel, see what this thing can do. So it's running its native 1920 by 1080 at 180 hertz. Let's see if this thing can output 10 bits of color, and it can. Very impressive. Now, with the white up on the screen, we can see we do get a little bit of dirty screen effect here, but it's much more minimal. It's just a less intensive matte finish than others. However, I don't know if it's exactly the same as the 60 QC-B. In my review, I'm gonna put these side by side so I can actually go really deep into that. But right away, this isn't quite as impressive as the 60 QC-B because I can tell you right away that one has higher brightness. It's 1440p, so it has a much better PPI at 27 inches. And because of those two factors, this just doesn't wow me as much as that one did for the money. However, it is cheaper. Let's get into game, see how this thing does. All right guys, even just in the menu system, the thing is, and this is pretty much the same as the 60 QC, even with these oranges, the colors look great here. I mean, the color accuracy, especially with like the whites here, as you can see if I just pull up like a browser, just having a browser here, the whites look very accurate, but with that, let's jump in game. All right guys, jumping right into game, the first thing you notice is, again guys, we have not changed anything besides turning the brightness up. We're still in Gamer 1, as you can see, Gamer 1. The colors look actually really good here. You know, I come from an OLED, so it's not like, it's nothing crazy, but I am literally just coming from reviewing an OLED, and my daily is an OLED. You gotta keep that in mind. I'm not saying this looks as good as my OLED, absolutely not, right? Absolutely not. But it's way more vibrant than almost every other panel in this price point, and really, it's quite impressive. I mean, it's a very pretty enjoyable experience. As far as ghosting looks really good here. There's definitely some ghosting, especially in this darker area. Let's actually go inside after I get this kill. As you can see, got the kill, so now let's go inside. Let's go to a darker area. Okay, so right here, yeah, there is a little bit more ghosting when you get to the darker areas. However, when you're in these lighter areas, it just doesn't look like there's that much ghosting in those lighter areas, which is very on par with most VA panels, or it can be common with most VA panels. Like here, you really don't notice anything. Here, it's like, okay, you'll see a little bit there, right? But the experience is still really, really good. Now, overall, my first impressions, I'm not as impressed with this one as the 60QC-B. I think getting 1440p for that price point is just, I think it's a better value overall. And that's if you can get it for that like 180, 179.99 kind of price point, and that's if it's on sale, which I don't know if they're gonna be on sale all of the time, but that one is just a little bit more impressive. But this one, like, especially if you're coming from an older monitor that's not super, super nice, like this is gonna be a really good monitor for you probably. If you're coming from something more high-end, obviously no, like don't expect the world. When I say good colors, I mean really good colors for this price point. And it's very uncommon to have colors this good at its price point. It's a very enjoyable monitor. And for a VA panel, this does have some of the lowest ghosting that you're gonna get. And when you go to, you know, brands like AOC and they do VA panels, they do not do VA panels very well. And honestly, LG never really did amazing VA panels. Like, honestly, I reviewed some of their VA panels before these and they were not good. And you guys know, I don't really like their WOLEDs at all. These panels are great. There's really nothing wrong with this. I think currently at the time of filming, it's like $139.99, which I think is a very good price. I think this is a great monitor for that price. And I think that if you get this, you're gonna be happy with it. But if you have 30, 40 bucks more and the 60QC is on sale, I'm pretty sure that's what I'm gonna recommend, is go for that one instead. But I will do a little bit of a comparison, or maybe I'll do a full comparison video if you guys want it. Let me know in the comments below. But with that, let's do the overall ghosting test. All right, with the ghosting up here, it's exactly the same story as the 60QC-B. You have quite a bit of ghosting in the darker areas of the screen, but very little in the lighter areas of the screen, which is exactly what we saw in game. Now, while this does look like a lot of ghosting, and it is, for a VA panel, that's actually really quite good, especially at this price point. I don't know of any that are really better than this at all at this price point. Let's go in and see if we can adjust the settings though. I believe this will be the best in the game adjust. Go down here to response time. Well, that one actually does quite a bit of work. So in the faster setting, that might have been in the 60QC-B, I do not remember. This does cause pixel overshoot or inverse ghosting, but it does substantially decrease the ghosting in darker areas. I don't know if that'll be worth it though, to be honest with you, because at least you're getting really, really clean, extremely low ghosting in the light areas. If you then switched into faster, you're gonna get pixel overshoot in the lighter areas. So then both in the darker and the lighter areas will be some sort of problem. But that'll be something to play around with if you guys do end up getting this, especially for fast-paced gaming. That might be better, I don't know. But if you're not playing a lot of darker games, especially FPS games, because that's where really ghosting can affect things. Let me take the camera, show you what I'm seeing. And as you can see up here, it's definitely a lot of ghosting. However, down here, I mean, that's really impressive. It's very low. Overall, it's a pretty much same story as the 60QC-B. Again, if you want to check out this exact same monitor or the 60QC-B, I'll link both below, as well as a monitor arm if you are just gonna go ahead and pick this up, or the 60. Both of them, I recommend the monitor arms, between 25 and 30 bucks. I really like this monitor. I think it's really good for the price point. I think it's probably one of the best VA panels in this $140, $130 price point. But if it's only like a $30, $40 delta between this and the 60QC-B, at this point, again, not full review, subscribe below for a full review coming in a few days. I will be comparing it to the 60QC-B. At this point in time, if you have a little bit extra money, you're getting a frick load more for your money by getting the 60QC-B. This is Type C Tech Reviews though, and I'll see you guys in the next video.